I think it's on Friday. Okay. All right. So everything off your desk. Put your stuff away, Mallory. You can put your binder away, but you need those two papers. All right. They are all yours.
Hi guys, I'm Mrs. Boyer. You may or may not recognize me. I was here a few months ago watching Mrs. Dyer teach you guys because I'm studying how to be a teacher too. I'm a student as well, so we're all in the same boat here. I'm super lucky because Mrs. Dyer has invited me back to teach. You guys are my first ever class, so I'm really excited to be here with you guys today, and I hope you kind of like what I've put together for you guys. So today we're going to be talking about context clues. Do you guys know what context clues are? Have you done this before? It's a reading strategy.
I recognize her name.
Recognizing, that's good. Possibly. Anybody else have any ideas? Okay. A context clue is a hint within a passage that tells you what an unfamiliar word means. So as you're reading, you're like a detective and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what this word is. So you keep reading, and sometimes the passage will tell you what that word means. So you don't need to go and get a dictionary, you don't need to Google it, you can work it out yourself and figure out what that word means. Sometimes it's a synonym. Do you know what a synonym is? What is it?
Not the same thing.
Perfect. So it kind of tells you within the passage through synonyms. So if they say, my brother is gaunt, do you know what gaunt is? But what if it said, do you know what it is? Well, let me help you. Maybe I can help it come back. What if I said, my brother is so gaunt. He's so thin and bony. I knew you had it. So it's tiny and thin. So that's how you can look for synonyms within a passage. The same is true for antonyms. Do you know what an antonym is?
An opposite.
The opposite, that's right. So I have an example here. What if it said, some students are aloof? Do you know what aloof is? Just if I said that? What do you think?
I think maybe like I can't explain it, but like loud maybe?
That could be true, yeah. What about you?
Like mopey?
Yeah, you guys are both right. And that's another important thing I really want to bring up. There's not one right or wrong answer, because synonyms and antonyms, there's many synonyms and antonyms for the same thing, right? So it could be mopey, it could be loud. So what if I read more into the sentence and I said, some students are aloof. Oh, you want to tell me what you think aloof is? Goofy, that could be one too, yeah? So what if I said, though some students are aloof, others pay attention to everything.
Like
That's exactly right, yeah. And everybody was right. Being goofy, being mopey, off task. Very good. Another way to use context clues, or another kind, is a straight up explanation. So you don't really have to look real hard for the clue, they give it to you. So if I said, my friend was so forlorn. Forlorn? What is that? You want to try?
maybe like kind of like how a fake friend would be.
Kind of.
Like annoying. Boring.
Boring. What about you?
Like different.
Different? What about you?
Like stressed out.
Stressed out. Those are all really good tries. So, you did good. Thank you for participating. So what if I read further into the sentence? Because you need a context clue, right? So what if I said, my friend was so forlorn when her dog died that she cried for a week. Depressed. Anybody else? Remember, more than one answer.
Sad. I was gonna say sad.
That's true. Good. That's a good one.
I had a word that I forgot. It was like warm, like
That's okay. I'll come back to you.
miserable.
Miserable. Mopey. Good. These are all good. And see, more than one answer. So be creative in thinking about what these definitions are, because sometimes words can have more than one meaning too. And the last kind of context clue is an example, which is kind of just like the explanation, but but it gives you an example. It's exactly what it says. So my example is commercial vehicles, such as trucks, buses, and taxis with paid drivers can all be found on the road. So the word that you might not be familiar with is commercial vehicles. What do you think the clue was through an example in that sentence?
Like how it's fake because they get paid.
Yeah, it gave you an example. Paid drivers, taxis with paid drivers, trucks, buses. Good job. Awesome. So those are context clues, and they are super duper important, not just in school, but when you're out of school. Full disclosure, I have to record myself. That's why she was I'm not recording you guys, it's just me. So when you're in school, it's really important because then you can learn new vocabulary or understand what you're reading, so you're actually learning as you read. But it's also really important outside of school. Maybe when you're traveling to a different country and you're trying to speak to somebody but you don't really have the same language, body language can be a context clue. Or pointing, giving examples. So it can be outside of the classroom, a physical thing, a visual thing, but more importantly for school, it's a reading strategy. So I have kind of an embarrassing example to share with you guys about how I use context clues. Does anybody know what this is? Scuba gear. So not only am I studying to be a teacher, I'm always studying my scuba skills because I'm a scuba diver, and I've been all over the world and in different oceans. But before I was an expert, I had to learn. So I went to a scuba shop and I got the textbook and all the gear, and they said, Kelsey, Mrs. Boyer, not Kelsey, read the textbook, take the quizzes, and you'll be good. You can dive all over the world. So I'm like, all right, that's easy, right? Read the book, take a test, I can go on. Well, I'm reading the book, and it says, if you run out of air, hold on to your buddy. Grab their octopus, put it in your mouth, and breathe like normal. So I'm reading the text, and I'm like, I have to put like a squid animal in my mouth to breathe? That doesn't sound right. I didn't see that in all the Hollywood movies where there's scuba divers. And I read the sentence about 10 times, and I'm like, okay, it really says you have to put an octopus in your mouth. So I'm going through the book, and it's bothering me. So I find a diagram of the gear. I find a paragraph about the octopus. These are my context clues. The picture and the description of the octopus, which is this yellow guy right here, that actually says octopus on it, that your buddy will grab if you run out of air to breathe off of, and you can breathe off of the same tank. So I am still using context clues, and I'm almost 30 years old, and I'm studying to be a teacher, so I'm learning new words all the time. You guys are going to use context clues forever. So I know when you sometimes in math, you're like, when am I ever going to use this? You're going to use this all the time. So now that we know a little bit more about context clues, I want you guys to look at the papers on the desk. There is a page that talks about the Declaration of Independence. Have you guys learned about the Declaration yet?
Yes.
Yes. Is it just like, oh, this again, the Declaration? Well, I know how you feel because I grew up in Philadelphia. I was born and raised there, so I field trips to these places and everything, and I could probably tell you this document forwards and backwards.
Have you seen the actual declaration?
I haven't seen the actual Declaration, but I've been to City Hall, and I saw the chair that George Washington sat in, and all the different artifacts, which is in Philadelphia, and they have it all preserved and nice. And actually, quick side note, my dad is a plumber back there, so he was working on the buildings, and he got backstage access when everything was shut down. So he took me and my sisters, we got to kind of get our little private tour of all the cool history stuff. So this is important to me, and it's important to all of us. It's a really important document, so let's talk about it a little bit.
Do they like not have it in the museum, like maybe a copy because people can steal it? It's worth a lot.
Is this the national treasure plot? Stealing the Declaration of Independence? Yeah, I think it's probably in a vault somewhere to be safe, but they do have copies. You've probably all seen a copy, right?
Yeah.
In your textbooks. So that's cool. I'm going to ask for 3 volunteers to help me read this together. And then you guys, after that, you guys are gonna work as pairs to figure out what these underlined words mean. And you're gonna make your own definitions and write it in the chart. Don't worry about the part that I've X'd out, and don't worry about this, because that's just what we're gonna discuss. So when you're working together, you're just gonna put your definition in this spot here. So, volunteers, number 1, number 2, number 3. Okay, so number 1, would you like to start on a sweltering?
On a sweltering summer day, the Second Continental Congress met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They were about to sign the most important document of the time, the Declaration of Independence.
Perfect. Number 2.
It had taken several weeks for a committee of 5 members to draft the declaration. The committee included some of the most noteworthy names in American history, such as John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson.
Number 3. Good job.
After the document was completed, the members of Congress debated the issues and document. They made revisions and changed some of the wording. Finally, on July 4th, 1776, the final version was adopted.
Awesome. So now, with your partner, I want you guys to talk about these words that are underlined and try to come up with a definition for what that might mean. And it's really important to me that you understand that it could be more than one. So be creative and try to think of different things that it could be, and then we'll come back after like 5 minutes and discuss it all together. And if you need help, just raise your hand and I'll come and talk to you. Sound good? Yeah. All right, work with your elbow partners. Somebody next to you. Oh, how about you turn around and work with me? If there's nobody next to you, turn around and oh, one more thing. I'm so sorry. I realized this morning there was a typo. Teachers make mistakes too. In the chart it says several, but in the text it underlined weeks. So, I think we all know what a week is, right? What is a week? 7 days. So why don't you underline several instead and work on the word several that you'll see in the chart.
No, it broke again.
I passed it to community it had taken several weeks
You're a virgin.
What do you teach?
I've been caught. Why haven't
Maybe you'll have it fully completed. Don't worry, I'll blur your
My face is already ugly and
Are you guys about ready to talk? No? Okay. You ready to talk? Okay. One more minute to finish up your final thoughts. If you don't have it all finished, that's fine. Because we're going to talk about it.
Wait, what did we do?
Okay, 30 seconds. All right, finish your final thought, and then we're going to pull it back together and we'll talk about it. If you want to. Thank you. All right, you guys, let's chat. Come back to your desks if you've turned around. Who wants to try out number 1? Oh, I'm so excited you guys want to work with me. Cool. You. Ooh. What do you think number 1 is? What is the word, and tell me the definition you came up with.
sweltering hot.
Sweltering hot. So how did you find that? How did you figure that out?
Because in the sentence it says on a sweltering summer.
And summer is hot. Awesome. And I can confirm that in Philadelphia it is miserable hot in the summer. Good job. Awesome. Number 2.
A document is like an important paper.
Awesome. How did you figure that out?
Well, because it says US, it's like the US document, so it's like important.
So you already have your prior knowledge of knowing this is a really big deal. That's awesome. You want to try it as well for document?
Well, yeah, I have she said I maybe I don't know, but I meant for document a governmental. I'm sorry, important governmental piece of paper.
Awesome. Perfect. What about you?
Oh,
you want to do the next one? Does anybody else have any ideas for document? Other ideas? You do? Share it.
Like a contract?
Yeah, it's like a contract. It's super duper important, right? A document. Important paper. I love all the answers. Great. Number 3.
A lot.
A lot. Good. How did you find that?
It said that before the words, I thought that since it said it had taken, it just gave me a clue, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't really find anything after.
What about weeks? What did we say? How many days are in a week?
Oh, 7 weeks.
Yeah. So that's kind of a thing too. Do you want to give me an idea for several? Many. Same thing. Awesome. Many? Multiple. Good. What about you? More than one. Awesome. These are all right. They all generally mean the same thing, but they're different, which is kind of cool. All right. Number 4. You back?
He said it's a group or a team.
A group or a team. Absolutely. Who else?
A group of people.
A group of people. Tell me how you figured out that it was a group of people.
Because it said there was 5 members.
Awesome. Perfect. Anybody else want to share for committee? No? Awesome. What about number 5? Draft. First try. Awesome. Who else? Yeah, like a draft of their paper. Awesome.
Like a practice copy, I guess.
Practice copy. Oh, perfect.
Like a first try.
First try.
Like how we do rough drafts, like the beginning part.
So you used your prior knowledge. Okay, when I write, I do a first draft. Awesome.
Would editing paper be an answer?
It would totally be an answer, and that'd be a good answer too. First copy. Perfect.
Pre-write.
Pre-write. You guys, why am I here? You already know this stuff. That's great. Can you tell me how you figured that out, that your answer was first try?
Also later on since revisions and I couldn't
So you looked even deeper like I did with the octopus situation, freaking out. I was going to have to read off a squid. Awesome. Okay, number 6. Famous. Nice. How'd you figure that out?
I thought it said the most noteworthy, and I just thought that was
Perfect.
important.
Important. Popular.
Greatest.
Greatest. Awesome.
Famous people.
Famous people. And you kind of see these names and you've studied the Declaration and you know they're important. Fun fact, in Philadelphia, we call Benjamin Franklin Benny Boy. So when you're back there and you see a statue, say, hey, Benny Boy. That's what we do back there. All right, next one, issues. Who wants to go?
Like something wrong.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, you said 2 things. So an issue could be like a paragraph or it could be a problem.
It could be a problem, and or even, this is a really good example, so issue can have more than one meaning. So when you get a magazine, it's the first issue, or a book, the first edition, the first issue of it. So I'm happy that you pointed that out because it could mean more than one thing. So you use your context clues to figure out what that meaning is. Awesome. Anybody else want to try with an issue? What their definition might be? You guys pretty much got it, nailed it. What about number 8?
Changes.
Changes. Perfect. Anybody else for number 8?
Retry.
Retry.
Edits.
Edit. You guys are so good. Which was that? Repeated it. They did it again. Awesome. You guys are great. Number 9.
Like a version is a type of something.
Yeah, it's like a type. Good.
Like a different kind.
A different
like
kind.
Version 1, version 2, version 3.
Awesome. Anybody else? No? Awesome. You guys are doing great. Last one. Adopted.
It's me. Signed off.
Signed off. Perfect.
To take in.
To take in. Perfect.
Taken in.
Taking in. Oh my God, you guys are awesome.
Taking the ownership.
Ownership. Nice. Good word.
Brought together.
Brought together. All right. You guys, I think you guys know how to use your context clues because you nailed it. You've done amazing. And heck yeah, that was great. So now there's a tiny little slip on, oh, do you have a question?
Yeah, so when they said adopted in the last paragraph or sentence,
Yes.
adopted someone? Like which one?
Another perfect example. Two meanings, right? I adopted a puppy, or I adopted the changes. So they made it right, that they took it in. They signed off and they adopted it, they put it into place.
We're both right?
It's putting it into place or taking it in.
I said
So you said taking it in, so it depends on which way you're using it. You're both right. You both get points. So are there any other questions? Does anybody want to give me an example of when they may have used context clues? Like my silly, embarrassing octopus situation?
I think it was when one of our storybooks tests, there's a vocab word, and I couldn't find it out, and then I found what it means by the rest of the sentence.
Perfect. So you're already using it. I remember, I have two sons, and they're older now, but when they were little, super little, they were kind of figuring out the world. When you're little, you use your, not knowingly saying, oh mom, I'm using my context clues, but they're using their context clues to figure out what things are. So that's hot. Mom says, don't do that, that's bad. I mean, it's kind of like using your context clues. So sometimes it's not just reading, it's also living your life. So you're always going to use these things to be productive citizens, right?
Like, again on a test, it was like not a storyworks test, it was a vocabulary one. And there was a question, it said, I don't remember what the word was, but there was a sentence, I think it was like actually to find out what it meant by going back in the test. It was like a hard word that we had. And so they had this huge like sentence that needs the wording and you had to find what it meant. And so that I think I don't remember what it was, but I remember the question.
Perfect. So you went back within the test. It's a testing strategy. You go back and you say, oh, I remember seeing that within another question, and it helps you figure out the answer to another question, right? Awesome.
Where's your first flight?
Indonesia. My first scuba dive is in Indonesia, all over the place. Yeah.
Do you ever go on those like you're in a boat, right? And then there's like those metal cage things and like you drop in and you look at like sort of sharks.
Sharks. I've never been in a shark tank. But one last off-topic comment. My husband teaches scuba, and he was offered a TV show to go and tag sharks to captain the boat and teach the guys on crew how to scuba.
There's this one
There's sharks out there.
that I watched with like my parents, and this person they were going scuba diving in the Gulf of Mexico, and they got stuck down there, and
Oh man.
they were about to get away, but like she was hallucinating. Because I think she was like bleeding out after a shark.
I saw that. That was a scary movie. 47 meters down.
Yeah, 47 meters down.
That was a good one. That was a good movie.
And then like at the end, then she actually survives, but her sister
Died.
Her sister died.
So she was forlorn because she lost her sister. Right. Does anybody have any other questions about context clues?
Well, I have one about context clues and one about scuba diving.
Quick.
What if you can't find a context clue and you don't know what to do?
Good. That's a really good question. That's when you're going to have to consult the dictionary or ask your teacher or a friend. If you can't find the context clue and you try, and it's not there, or it's just another series of really hard words, then you look it up.
Alright, and then what's like your like interference with an animal in the ocean?
Night diving, because there's different animals. So, and all you have is your light, so you don't really know what's going on over here. That was my scariest. Okay, no more scuba questions. I'm here to teach context clues.
What's if it's like on the test, when you're trying to and you pass but you can't find it?
Ooh. Then you're kind of stuck, and then you're going to have to guess. Yeah. If you're on a test, and you can't ask your friends, and you can't find the context clues, then you're going to have to, you're in a sticky situation, you're in a pickle, right? Okay. Well, there's one more little slip. It'll take like a minute max. You work on this on your own. It's not graded. It's not a test for you. It's a test for me so that I can know that I did a good job teaching you guys about context clues today. You don't have to put your name if you don't want to because it's not graded. But just answer the 2 little questions, and I'll collect all your paper from you, and then go do my homework for this. When you're done, flip it over so I know you're done.
At least we need to go home.
At least we have this.
Yeah, we don't have this.
You guys done?